there was a white man named Tony Timpa. I'm not sure if you've seen this video, who in 2016 was captured on the body cam, I believe, of a cop who was killed in almost exactly the same way that George Floyd was. Namely, the cop was on his back, pinning him down with his neck for 13 minutes and suffocated him to death. All the while, Tony Timpa was begging for his life. And in fact, the cops were making jokes throughout the whole time. It's every bit as disturbing to watch as the George Floyd video. And the video was kept secret for 3 years and released in 2019, I believe, on the order of a federal judge. Of course, that didn't inspire riots. So far as I know, the video didn't even go viral because it wasn't clearly racist, because it was a white cop doing it to a white suspect. And I fear that, part of the reason that Black Americans in particular, but Americans in general, react this way to the video is because we've been primed to think that this is only a race issue rather than an issue with the police in general, which is to say there's an accountability there's an accountability issue. Often it's police departments investigating themselves rather than having an independent body investigating examples of potential misconduct. And I don't know how to get the media to cover, all of these cases, but I think that would go a long way to persuading Americans that this is an issue you can get behind regardless of what your race is. And I think that would go at least part way to preventing this kind of rioting.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that journalism needs to be far more numerate and statistically savvy, and ensure that its coverage is in more harmony with the actual data. And I think indeed that I haven't seen polling results, but I wouldn't be surprised if people thought that more African Americans were shot by police than whites, when it's the other way around. Now, of course, the rate per capita is higher for African Americans than for whites. But on the other hand, the rate of violent crime is higher for African Americans than for whites, as it is for Southerners versus Northerners. Those are the two great statistical disparities in crime statistics in the United States. So the base rates have to be taken into account. But I think that you're right, from the coverage, the fact that the more than half the police shootings that are of white suspects never get coverage has distorted people's perception, as is just the absolute risk of getting shot by a police officer as opposed to being shot by a gang member or someone that you get into a fight with in a bar, which is, as I mentioned, 15 times greater. It is true that our perception of risk and prevalence is driven by stories, events, anecdotes rather than data. And with a combination of a big country and every citizen being a reporter, we can have the impression that things are much more common than they are. And indeed, since Ferguson, since Michael Brown, there has been perceptions of violence perpetrated by cops that you and I know are inconsistent with the statistical reality. Among them, that a major risk to the lives of African Americans is shooting by police, whereas it's probably at least 15 times more likely that a man will be killed by someone who's not a police officer than a police officer. So the fear that police are a major threat to life and limb is out of whack with the reality. And there are at least 4 studies that I know of that show no good evidence for racial bias in who gets shot by police, or for that matter, in which police shoot.